Robin Charvet. Hope you're doing well today. I just wanted to pop in here and do a video that I've been meaning to work on for a little while now. And this is a Keeping Traditions Scrapbook workshop from Stampin' Up. Today, I'm going to focus on the cutting for the video, and then the next video that I put up will actually be the assembly and decorating. So I plan to walk through the first part of the video, and I'm going to do this video exactly like the instructions are in the workshop guide, so that if you're interested in seeing what Stampin' Up! Has to offer, that you get an idea of how our kits are laid out. This particular workshop that I'm going to focus on today has 3 2-page 12 by 12 layouts. So let's get started, and I'm going to flip my camera over and put it in the cradle so we can get to work. Okay. Now, sometimes when I do this, I end up cutting off the video. So hopefully I won't do that today. And we'll get centered here, and we're going to start with the Keeping Traditions Scrapbook workshop. Again, this is Robin, and I am a former Close to My Heart consultant, and when they left the industry, I transferred over to Stampin' Up. So anyone who's familiar with Close to My Heart, or were familiar with Close to My Heart, may notice some similarities in the way these workshops are laid out, and I think that has been part of the transition moving forward. We start off with the kit itself. The kit contains everything that you need to make the layouts that are featured in this particular suite of paper. This one is called Keeping Traditions, and there are some optional techniques that we'll get into when we do the assembly and the decorating, but this actually features accents with ink and also with the Wink of Stella glitter brush. It's 3 projects, and today we're going to start with the cutting guide. Now, in this particular kit, you will receive, or have received if you've already gotten it, the full page 12 by 12 page sticker sheet. Today, words are escaping me. Some cardstock. We've got white cardstock. I don't know if this is gray or black. It might be Secret Sea. I think it's Old Olive. It might be Pool Party. And let's see. I'm not sure what this one might be. Cherry Cobbler. So those are 12 by 12 sheets of cardstock. The difference between this and just the normal paper is that this will actually also provide you with some punch outs, 2 sets. And I think the nice thing about this is that if you get stuck, it does tell you on the back side which project page that it belongs to. So that's kind of a nice feature in case you get stuck or can't tell from the picture what the which layout that piece belongs to. These kits also contain a couple sheets of one-sided 12 by 12 paper. These are only available in the workshop kit. They're not available in just the DSP or the Designer Series paper pack. There's exclusives to this kit. And I think this one, here's a couple more sheets. Single-sided. And then we have some of the patterns of DSP. So we have, I think, 2 sheets of 3 of the different pattern. Oh, excuse me. I was just going to have an avalanche over here of ink. So we have, these are the fronts. these and these. So this is our patterned paper selection for this particular kit. It also comes with photo placeholders. Then I think this is just my sheet that comes off the back, and I have an extra packet of just the DSP paper. The DSP actually has six different patterns of paper, double-sided. So there are more sheets in the DSP pack than there are used in this kit. So that just gives me a little bit of leeway, or some creative choices should I choose to accept. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to need today is a paper trimmer. So I'm going to go grab that. And you'll see that I'm working today on my glass mat. I could just use my tabletop, but I was doing some inking techniques earlier, so my glass mat has already been out. Okay, so this is my method, and there are many methods, but I just start off with the first page, and typically what I will do is I will just kind of get myself coordinated here, and I'm going to pull, or sorry, not pull, but I'm going to stack my papers in the order that I'm going to cut them. So my first papers that I'm going to cut will be this this cherry cobbler poinsettia. I don't know if it's a poinsettia. Anyway, floral paper. So that's going to be in the first page. The next one it looks like I'm going to cut will be this, I think it's Secret Sea and olive paper. The next page, so I'm sorry, so I don't get ahead of myself, 2 sheets of that red paper. So I have those stacked here. 1 sheet of the Secret Sea and olive paper. 1 sheet, nope, looks like 2 sheets of the floral poinsettia. And then setting this piece aside, it doesn't look like it's cut up front, I'm going to move into my cardstocks. This just helps me later from having to dig through this pile about 400 times. So I'm going to grab the pool party sheet. Now you can, of course, just grab them as you go. I just find this helps me cut my papers a little faster. Okay, so then I have the Secret Sea two-toned cardstock. Our two-toned cardstock has a white core. There's a dark side and a light side. And if you were familiar at all with Close to My Heart, that was something that we did at Close to My Heart. So there's a slightly darker shade and a lighter shade. So I have 1 sheet of the Secret Sea, 1 sheet of the cherry cobbler, also two-toned, so there's a lighter and a darker, and then 1 sheet of the old olive. After that, we're going to cut a white willow sheet of paper, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stack that. And on this last page of the cutting guide has 1 more sheet of white willow, so we'll go ahead and grab that. And then the rest of this kit, oh sorry, I didn't mean to shake the camera. I'm going to set that aside for later, as well as setting aside my sticker sheet and the photo placeholders, because we won't need those today. Okay. The next thing I do with my process is when I'm cutting, I don't necessarily write the numbers on my, I don't write the layout numbers on my pieces, because if when I'm designing or when I'm putting them together, I decide I might want to flip the paper over and use the opposite side, then I don't have to do any erasing marks. So the way that I do my sorting is that I will put the cut pieces into a envelope of some sort per layout. I don't do it per page. I'll do it like per layout. So I need one for each page or each layout. So we have 3 layouts in this particular kit. So I've grabbed 3 envelopes, and I will just slide my cut pieces into the appropriate layout number 1, 2, or 3. Hopefully that makes sense. So you'll see it as I go. Okay, so that takes us to the first guide. When you're reading the guide, I don't know if you can see this, but when you're gonna begin your card, your cutting, you'll see the orientation of the paper that will go into your paper trimmer, and it also will tell you where you should do the first cut, and that can help you with your paper. Also, if there's a asterisk after the number, that means you're going to use the reverse side of the paper. These paper cut orientation pieces shows you the first one means that they're considering this the front, and this is the back, and they're labeled. But on, you'll see same sheet or same type of paper on this one, they've reversed it. So this is the front and this is the back. And sometimes that can be a little bit tricky and just something to be aware of. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my first sheet because we're gonna start cutting with this first page. I'm going to slide with the orientation in my paper trimmer this direction, but I'm gonna cut from the front. And I am going to line up my edge of my paper. It says we need a 4.5 by 12 piece. So this is 12, in case you haven't done this before. If you're joining me for the first time and you haven't used one of these paper trimmers, your inches are going across the top here. From this mark, whatever the mark is, to this line is where the measurement is. So if I'm doing a 4.5 inch by 12, this is already 12 inches. I'm going to put my edge of my paper on the 4.5, and 4.5 piece will be from this edge to the trimmer, or where the blade is. So I'm going to go in half and do a 4.5 by 12. This is layout 3, so I'll put that in my layout 3 envelope. And then I better put them in order, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then my next piece, hopefully I'm in the guide here, will be a 4-inch piece. So I'm going to cut that first. And this one is 4 by 9.5. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my ruler, and we're going to cut at 9.5 inches. And for anyone who hasn't seen this particular trimmer before, this other blade here, this is my scoring blade. What I like about the paper trimmers, the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer and the close to my heart one, is that your second blade, actually there's plenty of space for your second blade to be housed, below the cut line. So here's the cut mark, but it's well below, so that even when I can nest them both in there, and even when I pull the second one down, it will cut all the way through. So that's a nice feature on that. Okay, so my 4 by 9.5 piece, that is also going in folder number 3 because it's part of layout number 3. This paper that I'm left over with is scrap. So we'll do something with that later. Maybe make some cards or maybe an additional page, depending on how much paper is left over when I'm done. And I'm going to go ahead and move to my next page. I'm going to put my paper in with the cut orientation the way I'd like it. And this one is actually going to be 5 inches by 10 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and make my 5-inch mark. That's where it told me to start my cut. So I've got a 5 by 12 and I need to scale it down to 10. So I've got my 10-inch mark here. This is a scrap. And this 5 by 10 will go into layout number 1. This piece of paper is going to now be 4 inches by 8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and put my paper in at the 4-inch mark. And then I need to put it in at the 8-inch mark. We'll grab that. That one is layout number 3. Okay. So hey, that's our first 2 pieces of paper are ready to go. This is still scrap, so I'm going to leave my little scrap pile. If I would have had enough, if this would have been 4 inches, I just would have used my leftover. That way I can save paper. I like to save the largest chunks of a sheet of designer paper as I can. Okay, we're going to move on to the next piece, which is our Secret Sea and Old Olive. This piece really doesn't matter what the orientation is. There's no direction of a print or anything. So I'm going to go ahead. It tells me just to make my first my first cut at 7.5. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I can immediately discard this 4.5-inch piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my 5-inch piece, which is this top one. This also goes into layout number 3. You can see I've got a lot of pieces of 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this piece and I need a 4.5 by 6.5, which is layout number 2. And that leaves me with this 3-inch piece. It should be 3 inches, but I need to make it 6 inches. So we've got, it's 3 inches there, 6 inches here. Another scrap piece, and this will go into layout number 3. Okay. Moving on to the next sheet, we'll go ahead and grab this. This one also really, it's pretty standard. It doesn't really have an orientation. It's polka dot on one side and just the floral on the front. So I don't think I need to worry too much about that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut a 9.5. I'm going to turn it and cut the other piece to 9. And this one is layout number 1. So not too difficult so far. We're doing good. Sometimes there's some little there's some more challenging cuts, but so far so good. Okay, so this next piece is going in at the 3-inch mark. Put my bar down there so because you see it's sliding. I should have cleaned off my desk a little better than I did this morning, but there you go, 3 inches. And this one is actually 3 by 11 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off this 1 inch from the end. And this will go into layout number 2. And then we're going to cut a couple of 3¼ inch by 3¼ inch square pieces. So there's 3, there's a quarter. 3¼ by 3¼ and I need 2 of these. And these are both for layout number 1. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the Pool Party two-tone cardstock. They will do suggestions as well on these for whether you use the light side or the dark side. You can choose that for yourself. Sometimes I like the opposite of what is when you lay them out, when we place them down. I like sometimes changing them. Maybe it'll give something a little bit more pop of color. The main thing you want to pay attention to when you're doing your layout piece, and we'll look at this again when we assemble, but just making sure it's the same side on both pages of your layout, just to give it an overall complete look. The aesthetic, the aesthetic will be nice on that. Sorry, can't enunciate again today. Okay, so this one, the first cut is going to be at 6 inches. And this piece is 10.5 inches. So we've got 10.5 by 6, and that is going to be in layout number 2. This other side we already know is 6 inches because we cut it exactly in half. This one is actually going to be 11 inches, so I'm going to trim off this inch off the bottom. And this piece will be also in layout number 2. And I did not cut this small piece yet from the bottom of the prior cut. This is this piece right here. It's 4 1/4 by 1.5. It should already be 1.5 because that's what we cut off earlier. And so I need 4 1/4. And we'll just make sure it is 1.5, and it is. So this piece goes into 3. We are just moving right along here today. Okay. Secret C. This is going to be an easy one as well. We're going to just go ahead and cut this into an 8.5 by 11. If you have an 8.5 by 11 piece of Secret C, you could just go grab it off your shelf and not have to cut anything and save yourself a large sheet of cardstock. But we're going to go ahead and trim this down because I do not have a piece of 8.5 by 11. Okay, so this one is going to go in layout number 1. And we come to the cherry cobbler, which is interesting because we only need 1 strip. So I also, this is sometimes when I come to this part of, if I already have a strip of paper, like I will check my stash, and it looks like right now all I have are, well, let's see. I do have a strip, and I need a 1 inch by 11. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut a 1 inch out of my scrap. So 1 inch by 11 inches. And I got that out of a scrap of paper that I already had, which means since that was the only thing that I had available there, I can go ahead and take this entire sheet and put it in my my paper that I can use it later. Save my, look, I just scored an entire sheet of cardstock. Yay. Okay, so the next piece is an old olive, and that is an 8 by 11. And because I'm sitting right here, let's see, old olive, 8 by 11. Just gonna check my stash. Okay, we'll go ahead and cut that. 8 inches. Oh, and you probably just saw me put this sheet that we just cut in the scrap pile, which is wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and move that piece that we just cut previously to layout number 2. And then finish cutting this down. It's 8 by 11. And this one goes into layout number 1. So I'll go ahead and put that into layout number 1. Okay, white willow. I'm going to grab a sheet of this. Is our next piece. We're going to go ahead and cut this sheet down. So this sheet, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close my ruler. We need to start our first cut at 3 1/4 inches. And then we're going to go ahead and cut this down. So we have a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. I should use this up here where I have my camera. Another 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So we're just going to end up cutting off just a sliver of this piece. So I have, this goes in 3, this goes in 3, and this goes on layout 3. Okay. Next piece we're going to cut is another 3 1/4 inches. Go ahead and do that. And we've got 3 1/4. And all of these are 3 1/4 inches, and we need 3 of them. That's 1, that's 2. That is 3. This is a scrap, which actually, this would be a decent piece if we ended up needing to stamp something on. But these all go into layout number 1, according to my guideline. Okay, the next one is actually 3 1/2 is the first cut. So I'm going to go to 3 1/2. And then the first one is 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. This goes into layout 3. 1, 2, 3. And the next one is 3 1/4. By 3 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut the smaller piece first and then just trim that piece. And that's just so that later, if I needed a larger scrap, I have the ability to have one and I don't have a bunch of these little string, or I call them strings, but little chunks of paper. Oh, and this one goes into layout number 2. As you start working with guides, if you haven't done it before, or if you're new, once you start cutting and learning how to cut, you can move faster. So this may look like I'm doing this pretty fast, but I've been doing this for 25 years or more. So I'm usually able to whip out several cut pieces in a relatively quick manner. But if you're just starting out, feel free to go back or slow down. Make sure, double check your measurements and do your cuts. There's no wrong way to do scrapbooking. So for the last white willow piece that we had set aside, I'm going to go ahead and start that first cut. It tells me to cut at 3 1/4 for that first slice. And then it's going to be 4 1/4 on the first one, 4 1/4 on the second one, right here, and 3 1/4 on this last piece, which means we'll end up losing like 1/4 of an inch at the bottom. This is layout 2. This is also layout 2, and this is layout 3. So I'll go ahead and put those into my folders. Excuse me. And that takes us to this last piece. And this one is going to be 6 1/4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and make this larger because the end of my, this particular trimmer is 6 inches and I need that extra 1/4 of an inch. This also gets tricky because it's on this white part and so you can't see it on my trimmer. It's right in the swinging arm. So I'm going to go 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. This makes matte, is what I'm guessing, for a 4x6 photo. Same with this, another 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. These are both layout number 1. And then this last piece is going to be 3 1/4 inches by 3 1/4 inches. And if I wanted to, I could take it out of this other piece, but it's really, if it was, if I already had a piece here on the side, I would just substitute it. But that's how you can look at stretching your paper a little bit more. Okay, so this one is layout number 3. And that means that after we have finished that particular, that we have finished the cutting for this particular set of layouts. So the next thing that I usually do when I'm prepping is I will go ahead and get my punch outs. My little punch out sheets. I'm going to go ahead and put this away so we have more space here to work. Excuse me. I hope everybody had a great holiday. We're into the new year now. I didn't make any New Year's resolutions this year. I do have some goals that I'm going to work on, but I didn't want to go into the new year 2026 with a list of resolutions in the general sense. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull out the sheet of die cuts, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start punching these out. And when I do these, I'm going to go ahead and make little piles for each. So same thing that I did with the papers that we just cut, but before I put them, just drop them into the folders with the other pieces of paper. I'm just going to make some piles and then I'll put them all in at the same time so I can keep them looking flat and neat. If I start cramming them in there, there's more likelihood that I will crumple something, and I don't want them crumpled before we do the assembly. So these all say project number 2, so they're going into a pile for project number 2. This one as well. And this one, some people may decide they want to leave theirs on the sheet and just pull them off as you're building. Sometimes I look and look and look when I do that and I can't find the right piece and I end up grabbing something else and using it, which is also fine. It's your project. You can change it up as you go along however you would like. So this one is project number 1. So I'll make a new pile. This is project number 2. Add that to this. This one is project number 3. And for anybody who it bothers that these are out of order, I'll go ahead and reverse that. So I've got stack 1, 2, and 3. And then I'll go ahead and punch out some of these smaller pieces. So this is a 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. Whoops. Now, so I have to be careful when I'm tearing these. That's project 3. And these 2 flowers. So 3 and a 2. Okay, so then I usually flip it over and make sure that I didn't miss anything, and I didn't, so I can go ahead and discard this extra piece. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing with the larger die cuts sheet. So it's a number 2. I'm sure you get the idea. 3, 1, 2. 2. So for those of you who don't know, I have a cat, and today was great. I got up early. I was supposed to take him to the vet. Cat was not cooperative today. Usually he'll go in his carrier, no problem. Usually he'll take his pill, no problem. That's for to keep him calmer at the vet so he doesn't attack anybody. This morning I was supposed to give him some gabapentin. I did the regular thing that I always do, and he was not cooperative. He did not eat any of his medicine. And then when we got ready to go to the vet, it was, I'm going to go ahead and just call it impossible to get him into his animal carrier. And as I was chasing him around for about the 5th time trying to force him into the carrier, I'm like, this is ridiculous. We should not both be stressed out trying to go to a vet appointment. And so I called the vet and said, we are not coming. They were very nice, and they did not charge me for a missed appointment. They said, we understand how these things happen. And he's pretty much okay. It's just a well cat visit. So, he got his way today. I told him he wins. And then we had to spend the next little bit of time this morning, forgiving each other. So we're all on good terms again, but he got his way and he didn't have to go to the vet. And I've decided that I'm not going to do it again until it's a day that both Jeff and I have off work so that we can both work on getting him into his cat carrier. So that was my morning. So I got up extra early and none of the things that I needed to do happened. So some days are just like that. So this was an empty sheet. I'm going to go ahead and toss it. And then I have 3 little piles here of die cuts. So these are all part of layouts for number 3. I'm going to go ahead and grab the folder. Actually, I should start with 1 since these are in order down here. So these are all project 1. I'll go ahead and project 1, project 1, project 1, project 1. I'll go ahead and put these into project 1 folder. Go ahead and put these all into project number 2 folder. Whoops. I'm really good at like flinging papers at the camera when I'm trying to record. I don't know why. I'm just it's one of those days, I'm telling you. And that's number 3. Okay, so that leaves us with basically our papers are prepped, our cutting is prepped, our little pieces are prepped, and the last thing I'm going to do for this video is go ahead and just look at the layouts and get a gander. Let's see, we're going to go to, this is left page and right page. So the left page, we're going to use Old Olive as a base, and the right page for layout 1 is going to use Secret C cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead Those are here still in our stash, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull the Secret C cardstock and the old olive grid paper and go ahead and slide those into project number 1 so that I have my entire kit ready for assembly. So that's number 1. The next thing I do is take a look, and this one, I think it's both Secret C striped floral paper for both of these backgrounds. It is. So this is layout 2 is going to use these sheets as the base layer. So I'll go ahead and I will add that to the folder for number 2. And that should leave me with these 2 scalloped lined papers for layout number 3. And we'll go ahead and slide those in so that that's ready to go. Yep, okay, number 3, and that's it for that. So that leaves us with our sticker sheet and our guide. And this was just the backing off of the kit that told us what the contents were. So that is pretty much the first video. We've got everything ready to go, which will make our assembly so much quicker. 1, 2, and 3. I'll go ahead and slide these down so that we have them and don't lose them for when we start the next video. In the next video, we will be using our Wink of Stella and doing assembly, adding the stickers, and I might also just grab some pretty sparklies because I usually like to put something, dress up my layouts a little bit. So I will be posting that video a little bit later this weekend. And you'll look out for video number 2, which will be the assembly and the decorating. Meanwhile, I'm also going to grab the additional pieces that I have here that were scrap. And I don't typically get rid of my scraps until I'm done, except for maybe some things like this. If I know that I'm not going to use those, I will toss these, but these are going to go into my folder that's labeled with the Keeping Traditions, as well as my other packet of DSP that I can use at a later time. So I want to thank you guys. I'm going to take you out of the carrier and I'm going to flip you over. Whoops. Got all sorts of things going on. So I want to thank you guys for coming in and taking a look. I will post that video a little bit later. I believe that these are still in stock if you want to get your Christmas photos ready to go. I did forget to mention that on the guide itself, it gives you ideas on your photos, both like the size of the photo that these will work with and how many are needed and whether or not they're portrait or landscape. So if I do these exactly how the layouts are designed, I will be able to do 15 of my holiday photos on these layouts. And then I can also add with flip flaps. So I might do some enhancing on the next video, which will be posted later this weekend. And we will do all the assembly of the Keeping Traditions, and we will do the decorating, and if I get my act together, I might have my photos printed as well. So with that, thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already liked or subscribed, I invite you to do that. It just helps us bring you more content and get it seen by people. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a wonderful new year, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much.